A sneak peek inside of special education with me. So, who am I? I am the captain of the swim team here at Alma College. I'm 19 years old. I'm a double major with special education and psychology. I'm planning on being a school psychologist. I have previously been tested for special education 2 times, and my brother is special needs, so there's a little connection of special education for you. So what is a criteria reference test? A test that is designed to measure a student's performance. This test is based on certain standards that a student should know. So any assessment that covers standards. The standards can be Common Core, which is for the general ed, or Essential Elements, which is for cognitively impaired. Now, students can only use the Essential Elements standards if they are cognitively impaired. So Common Core standards are for everybody else, including anybody with any other sort of learning disability. So a formative assessment was a short-term assessment. So assessments that evaluate a student on a unit or a chapter, or this could be spelling tests week by week. These help students and teachers determine what information still needs to be learned for the summative assessment. So kind of getting a feel for what the student needs to learn, what they're having trouble with, and things like that. Some examples are like weekly quizzes, Kahoots in class, just a kind of fun assessment to mix things up, and Quizlets. So a summative assessment is an assessment that is based on a whole term or multiple terms. This assessment is testing on the information more detailed than the formative assessment. So a summative assessment is putting everything together from all of those formative assessments. Triangulation, multiple ways of assessing students. If you just use a summative assessment, you don't really know if the students are learning along the way. Those formative assessments are used to determine what you still need to cover, what you need to take time to continue to learn. If you only use formative assessments, you don't know what the students actually learned. So, for all you know, they could have just learned small information, just general ideas, rather than all of the details. This is a way of assessing, and it allows you to figure out how much time to spend on a specific topic, or seeing if a child needs specific help. So the Brigance is a special test designed to assess the grade level in either math or English. The student is selected to take this test by a teacher that needs to assess their reading level, maybe if they're struggling or their reading level is unclear. The student goes through the test until they can no longer answer 80% of the questions correctly. So here are my results. The student I tested using the Brigance tested at the lower 4th grade level. I made sure to continue this test after the 4th grade level, but the results kept declining and the students started getting frustrated, so I just stopped after the upper 4th grade level on my graph. So as you can see, I did the primer level, the lower 1st grade level, the upper 1st grade level, and after that, the results started to change a little bit. So the lower 2nd grade level and the upper 2nd grade level stayed consistent about where the primer level was. One question wrong between the primer level and the upper 2nd grade level. Then in the lower third grade level, the student jumped back up to 100% correct. The lower third grade level back down to 4 questions correct out of the 5. Then the lower fourth grade level was about 4 right, and then the upper fourth grade level became too challenging, and it was less than 80% correct with only 3 questions right. So why is this testing helpful? So you need to know a student's reading level because the level that you're teaching may be too difficult or not challenging enough. If you have a special needs student in a general education classroom, or you just have a varying degree of levels in a resource room, it may be too difficult or not challenging enough for the specific student. So the student will benefit from specific grade level instruction. So my specific lesson planning that I would do is, using this information, I would try to supplement this into the lesson. So the student in a general education classroom, I would avoid embarrassing the students by giving them the same materials to read. So everyone would read the same material, whether it be a book or a passage, but I would modify the worksheets for simpler comprehension questions, or even giving them extra time on assignments. So maybe even combining those 2 strategies. In class, the students would be reading the chapters in the book or the passage out loud for better comprehension. The students can even take books home to further read and assess and try and comprehend and answer those comprehension questions. So what does research say about teaching students with reading disabilities? So students with reading disabilities understand directions better if they are given orally, which is understandable because if they were to be reading the instructions on the paper, it could be they may not comprehend, or something might get mixed up, misunderstanding what the directions actually say. It would also help if you do frequent progress checks with the child. If you give the child immediate feedback, this allows the student to know what they're doing wrong, and they can immediately correct it and continue to do it that corrected way. So my conclusion is that I have learned that students may be at the middle school level, but their education may be lower than that. So you could have an 8th grader reading at a 4th grade level. This means you can't really instruct generally. So you can't just say, here's a book, everybody read it, and everybody answer the same questions if everybody's at different levels. You have to attend to each student's individual needs.